Orca Man. Orca Man. What happened to Brad was almost accidental. Almost. He had been driving on a dirt road in Saskatchewan when he caught a glimpse of something at the side of the road. It was a flash of white. Instinctively, he slowed his truck and saw, lying on the verge of the ditch, a miniature orca. A miniature orca or killer whale. What is that? Brad wondered. A kid's toy? Some kid's stuffed animal? But on closer inspection, he saw it was an actual carving. An actual carving painted to look like an orca. It was the white highlights which had drawn his attention to the strange object. A very strange object. A very strange object to be lying at the side of a dirt road in the middle of nowhere. Alighting from his truck, Brad knelt down to examine the object more closely. It was about 18 inches long and beautifully detailed. Brad could see it wasn't carved out of wood, but of a harder substance. Soapstone or ivory, perhaps? It had been hand-painted and almost appeared to be alive. In short, it was a work of art that should be in a museum or a private collection, not in a ditch. What's this thing doing here, Brad thought. How did it get here? But then he realized such thoughts were irrelevant. It was here, and there was no way he was going to leave it here. Brad gently picked it up and found it felt smooth and cool and alive to his touch. Putting it carefully on the seat beside him, he continued on to Darrell's acreage. After a tour of the backyard and an examination of Darrell's brand-new John Deere gator mower, Brad ended up on his host's deck with an ice-cold Pilsner. I found the screwiest thing on my way out here, Brad said, explaining his discovery of the carven whale. Well, there was nothing for it after that but to walk out to the truck to examine it. But the orca was gone. Brad was furious. Where the hell could it have gone? There's no one here but you and me. Looking hard at Darrell, he continued, I'm not making this up. I believe you, Darrell said, a look of concern on his round moon face. It's too weird a thing to make up. But I tell you, I don't like it. What? Oh, I don't know. There's something almost supernatural about this. Like it was put there for you to find. I don't think you should have picked it up, Darrell concluded, almost sounding embarrassed. What, you think the thing was cursed or something? Brad said, still sounding pissed off. Darrell answered him with a question. You ever been down to Roche Percee? The Roche Percee is a sandstone rock formation down near the U.S. border, a rock formation which has been weathered into strange and unusual shapes by wind, snow, and rain. It is a natural landmark and was a rendezvous point for the Northwest Mounted Police on their trek out west in the 1870s. Some of the early Mounties wrote their names on the rocks, which were also the canvas for indigenous art, all of which has faded away. Too much snow, too much sun, too much wind. Sure, I've been down there, Brad said. I remember going there with my folks when I was a kid, Darrell continued. While we were there, I saw this little white skull. It lay in a natural depression or niche in one of the huge sandstone boulders, The skull of a small animal, maybe a gopher or a vole. It gleamed whitely against the ochre of the rock, and it looked like it was put there deliberately. I was going to pick it up and take it home with me, Darrell went on, but something warned me not to pick it up. Like something bad was going to happen or something. So I left it there where I found it, but I took a picture of it, eh? And you know what? The picture came out all blurry, eh? It was the only one I took that wasn't in focus. They had reached the deck and returned to their beers. I didn't have it long enough to pick up any bad vibes, Brad laughed. I would have liked to have taken it to the museum or the art gallery. It might have been worth something. The conversation then turned to more important things, like women and the fortunes of the Saskatchewan Roughriders football team. By next summer, Brad was a married man who had forgotten all about his encounter with the strange orca figurine by the side of a prairie dirt road. They honeymooned in Victoria, land of the newlywed and the nearly dead. One afternoon, they took a stroll along Arbutus Cove, an isolated strip along the Strait of Juan de Fuca, an isolated strip which was covered with large pieces of driftwood which had floated ashore. Brad was taking a picture of Amy looking out to sea when she said, "What is that? What is that? Is that a whale?" Brad had his back to the water, so he turned and saw, a few hundred yards out, a black shape bobbing amongst the waves. As he stared, he realized it was approaching the shore, becoming larger and more distinct, until Brad recognized the snout and dorsal fin of an approaching orca. "Get back, Amy," Brad yelled in sheer terror. "It's a killer whale." Amy was too surprised to move, and Brad was afraid to turn his back, so they both saw the dark shape plow through the surf to the water's edge, where it seemed to morph into the black silhouette of a man, a humanoid figure with black and white skin, a huge fin rising out of its muscular back, the head round and huge, with a mouth full of teeth. It came up out of the water, running on a pair of thick, athletic legs, and then leaped into the air. And as Amy watched in amazed horror, it swallowed the top of Brad's torso in its humongous gaping maw, before turning and running back out to sea, carrying its prey. The stunned widow told this to the authorities, who put the unbelievable story down to hysterical shock. Their theory, so far as they had one, was that a rogue wave had struck the shore and swamped Brad, who was too close to the water's edge, dragging him out into the ocean. Amy's subsequent mental problems seemed to confirm the idea of her story being nonsense. In any event, Brad's body was never found. But one person who wasn't sure the story was nonsense was Daryl. He remembered the strange story of the orca figurine. I knew he shouldn't have picked it up," Daryl was muttering to himself one afternoon as he rounded the side of his house, heading for the deck, and saw something that made him stop dead. Something lay atop the rail of the deck, gleaming in the prairie sunlight. It was about 18 inches long and beautifully detailed. Daryl could see it wasn't carved out of wood, but of a harder substance, soapstone or ivory perhaps. It had been hand-painted and almost appeared to be alive. In short, it was a work of art that should be in a museum or a private collection. It was the representation of an orca, or killer whale. The moral of the story: should you find a strange object by the side of the road, be careful not to touch it unless you want a whale of a time. Oh well, I guess you could say the honeymoon was over, especially when the third member of the love-hate triangle was that cryptid known as Orca Man. If this is your first visit to my channel, please consider subscribing. My name is Warren, and I write and tell original ghost stories and original horror stories featuring such cryptids as the Night Floaters, Werewolves, and the Black-Eyed Children. So, again, please consider subscribing. Please help me to reach my goal of 2,021 subs and 20... Oh, to hell with it. Please help me to reach my goal of 2,022 subs in 2022. Till midnight. Cheers. Pictures used in today's video, courtesy of Pix here. That's PX here. While the music was the spooky ghost story by that patron of the internet, Kevin MacLeod. I do hope you didn't find today's yarn a little fishy.